Thou art that. What does that phrase mean? Well, it's a translation of a Sanskrit phrase, Tat Tvam Asi, which can really be translated in a number of ways. We could say that it means that, that thou art. That's actually the literal translation. It could be you are it, that is you, you are that. Basically, it just means everything is one, and that duality is not fundamental. And I'm interested in this, and I find it compelling more for ethical reasons than for epistemological or ontological reasons. For example, a lot of people point to quantum physics as proof that everything is one, because you can't have an observer without an observed. You can't have a known without a knower. You can't have matter without mind and all that. And there's something to be said about that. But I'd rather point to the ethical, moral implications of this. That all selves are identical. And actually, I want to read something from an essay by Schopenhauer from his essay on the foundations of morality. He says, "How is it possible that suffering that is neither my own nor of my own concern should immediately affect me as though it were my own, and with such force that it moves me to action? This is something really mysterious, something for which reason can provide no explanation, and for which no basis can be found in practical experience. It is not unknown even to the most hard-hearted and self-interested. Examples appear every day before our eyes of instant responses of the kind, without reflection, one person helping another, coming to his aid, even setting his own life in clear danger for someone whom he has seen for the first time, having nothing more in mind than that the other is in need and in peril of his life." I think this is compelling because it reveals, as Schopenhauer said, my own true nature, my own true inner being, actually exists in every living creature, and is the ground of that compassion upon which all true, that is to say, all unselfish virtue rests, and whose expression is in every good deed. So in other words, it's not our intellectual rationalizations that bring us to understand that I ought to help another because another is much like myself. Before all of that reflection, it's immediately obvious that I am you. I am the one who suffers. When you see another suffering, you suffer. And certainly the intellect can come in and reflect on that immediate realization and come up with maybe a more pragmatic, realistic way to help the person instead of just immediately rushing up to do something. It could be more productive to delay that response. You may be able to save more people by coming to formulate a more detailed plan of action and so on. This is true. I've never been trying to say that we should not let intellect interfere with morality because it's emotional. No, I'm saying no matter how intellectual our moral system may become, it still fundamentally relies on this, if not emotional, then sure, intuitional, or it's an immediate response to the suffering of another because the other, in fact, is identical to the self. So it's before we intellectually understand that we ought to help them for rational reasons, we feel this connection that forces us to respond that way. We don't need logic to tell us that the suffering of another is identical to the suffering of the self.